it's Kathy from Pilates Pasadena with your series of quarantine videos, and what I want to start with today is a fundamental of your core muscles. I'm here with our friendly skeleton. They're waving because I want to show you that core muscles really comprise a greater number of your skeletal muscles. Some people think that the core muscles are only in your abdominals, and actually you have core muscles. I'm going to briefly go over what those core muscles are because they're very important for your living your daily life. I'm going to very briefly go through this area, and I think you'll really learn something hopefully very interesting. Then what we're going to do is use these to do exercises. So in the next video, we're going to put these into practice. So y'all know what this is. This is the spine, and I want to draw attention to the little sticky outy bits, the transverse processes. In between those areas, you have core muscles. Hey, core muscles, okay? These little teeny tiny core muscles are so small and hidden next to your bone that you'll never see them, which is a good thing. You don't want to see your core muscles. They're closest to your bone, and they're very important. They're like the rebar in your house. So you can put up wallpaper, paint, put in a new credenza, but if your rebar is not doing well, that's an issue. So notice that a lot of these core muscles are vertical, meaning they act as teeny tiny tension rods that put space in between. Going back to this, they put space in between the vertebra and the discs. The discs are the little squishy bits that when you have like a herniated disc or something like that, you get a lot of pain, and you want to make certain that you keep that in place. So very easy to think about those muscles that lift you up against gravity. Gravity is 24/7, and it tends to compress over time with body weight. So in every exercise, you want to think about elongating from the base of the spine up to the tips of the ears, including the neck. Sometimes we get into this position. Okay? An exercise that you can do is very simple: to stand up as straight as you can, nod the head. So with the 7 vertebrae in the neck, the 12 in the middle of the body, and the 5 below, you're going to bend the knees, and then you're going to work each vertebra at a time. Remember, no spine before it's time. Okay? So you want to respect and honor each of those vertebrae. Nod the head, roll down, make certain you bend your knees a little bit, and then we started at the top of the head. Now we want to roll from the base of the spine and come all the way up. Okay? Also, when you stretch side to side, it's very good for releasing tension. We stretch side to side, and same thing, you want to start from the base of the spine. Some people tend to start at the head. Be very careful. You might want to look in a mirror and make certain that you start from the base of the spine. And you stretch over to the side, and then you're going to come up. We're going to be using the abdominal muscles, and we're going to get to that in a minute. The next area to talk about is, if we go back to our friendly skeleton, you'll see that you have these wide, flat, pie-shaped, pie slice, very flat muscle in the shoulder girdle. It's called the scapula, and you'll see that your arms are attached to that. So the muscles that sit in between those are very important. They're called the rotator cuff, also known as shoulder girdle muscles. In the studio here, I call them the tank top muscles. And those muscles sit, there's another picture, sit in between here. And a very simple exercise that you can do, you can hold on to your fingertips. The reason is because we don't want to do arm movement. We want to move from the back. And I'm going to turn around so you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the mid-back. Here, you see where the scap is open. I'm going to practice opening it a little bit and then bring it back. Open it a little bit and bring it back. What I want to do is be able to control that movement like saloon doors. So we're not going to squeeze or squinch or overly go forward. So if I go like this, that's too much. Later when we do exercises, we're going to require that to stay in place so that if we're moving one part of the spine, the other part of the spine doesn't displace. Okay? The next thing to do is go in the opposite direction where very gently we pull these back and then find a neutral, pull these back and find a neutral. So it's very, very important for the exercises that are going to come because I'm going to be doing more exercises going to require us to keep that area stable as we're moving. The next area is my favorite muscle of all time, and that is the serratus anterior, which is this muscle that is here. You will see a little teeny bit of it peek out from the muscle guys who do that sort of pulling in. It's an extremely important muscle, and as you can see from this illustration, your bowling ball, or the head, neck, chest, shoulders, arms, and back sit like a cap on a pen on top of the serratus. This picture here shows that it also keeps the ribs in place. So if I happen to have a posture where I'm opening my ribs too much, probably my serratus or this area isn't doing a good job of keeping the ribs in place, and we can think of those as the saloon doors to the front. So I don't want my ribs overly open, and I also don't want them overly closed up. So I want them to hang in place like saloon doors. So they're not locked, and they're also not permanently, I call that John Wayne, where they're permanently open, okay? So the way you can find these, a couple other interesting aspects is that if you see this long border, it's the scap, that flat bone that I show you sideways. That's why it looks like this. It's a very long border, and this isn't even to scale, is that it keeps that's the connecting area to that upper back area. Long story short, whatever you have in your hands, you don't want your shoulder and arm and displacement through the shoulder girdle. You want those to work together. So really, the unifying force is that eventually you have the string section, percussion, you have all of these areas like a band, they all work together, but they don't all play the same note all at the same time at the same volume. So that's the beauty of finding your functionality of all of these stabilizers, is that they tend to work in a really nice melody, best circumstances. The way to find that serratus, that long, like a serrated knife, it goes right about here, is to put your hand here, gently raise your shoulder, draw the underarm down so you can feel that sliding down. Again, it's underneath a couple other muscles, but you'll be able to feel it over time. It's very important to feel that connection. And if you think about opening the arm outward a little bit, take an exhale, pull this in, and feel like you can move that arm with that side waist, call it the side waist or the serratus. Next area, I'm going over this very quickly, but I want to get through all of this today. The next area to talk about are abdominals. Again, you have more core muscles than just these areas, but it's very important to understand that the abdominals come in a couple different categories, those that are core muscles and those that are not. I'll show you the ones that are core muscles. The first one is called the transversus. Think of it as a very wide belt that goes all around your torso, from the sternum and then down to the pubic symphysis. What it does is it wraps all the way around to the back, and it creates, when you activate it by pulling in, it supports your back. It's very, very important. So it's easy to do in Pilates by pulling your abdominals in and these muscles activate, and I will demonstrate that here. Inhaling and then exhaling. Notice the cinching mechanism where this is pulling in. Again. I am exaggerating that because I don't want to walk around like this, but I'm exaggerating that so that you can see it. The next category of muscles are called obliques. You've probably heard about obliques. I want you to think of them as what holds your water bottle upright. If you think of your pelvis like a water bottle, I don't want to have my water bottle or my pelvis that way. So what the obliques do is they bring the pelvis in underneath you, which is abdominal work and not what is known as a tuck. That is a no-no word in the studio. We don't tuck. That would imply a baking sheet or squeezing your glutes. We're using the abdominals to place the pelvis, which is what the obliques are designed to do. So if you see the striations of the obliques, if you can tell on this video, it might be hard to see. Again, it's going to be hard to see them on you, but these go in various directions, and very importantly, they connect to the area that I just talked about, which is the serratus. So these areas connect, and if you cut something open and you look at them, you'll be able to see that they connect. Those keep your pelvis in an upright position. Go ahead and stop.